If your legs feel heavy, your feet stay cold, or you sometimes wonder why your circulation seems slower than it used to be, then listen carefully, because most people are wasting money on the wrong supplements and never getting the result they want. The truth is simple. Your body does not need 20 different pills in a fancy bottle. It does not need overpriced blends with tiny amounts of random ingredients that sound impressive on the label but do almost nothing where it counts. When circulation starts getting weaker, especially in the legs and feet, your body is usually asking for support in three very specific areas. First, it needs help opening narrowed blood vessels. Second, it needs support keeping those vessels flexible instead of stiff and hardened. Third, it needs the right signals to tell those vessels to relax and stay open when your muscles and tissues need more blood. That is why today we are not talking about every vitamin under the sun. We are focusing on the three compounds that matter most when it comes to supporting healthier blood flow. These are not magic pills, and they are not substitutes for medical care, but they are the three targeted nutrients that can make far more sense than the weak multivitamin approach that so many people rely on. And there is something else you need to know. The exact form matters. The dosage matters. Even the time of day can matter. If you take the wrong version, or if the dose is too small, you may feel nothing at all and assume the vitamin does not work, when in reality you were never taking enough in the first place. That is why we are going to break this down clearly, step by step, with no fluff and no confusion. You are going to learn why the first vitamin acts like a cleanup crew that helps open the blood vessels and improve flow. Why the second works like a flexibility fixer that helps keep vessel walls from becoming stiff and brittle, and why the third acts like an opening signal that supports the natural chemical messengers your body uses to relax blood vessels on command. When these three are used properly, they form a powerful foundation for circulation. Support. This is about making your legs feel lighter, your feet feel warmer, and your body feel less sluggish during the day. It is about giving your cardiovascular system nutritional tools it can actually use instead of wasting money on low-dose blends that barely scratch the surface. So stay with me, because the first vitamin we are about to cover is one of the most overlooked tools for blood flow. And although it can cause a temporary sensation that surprises many people, that exact reaction is often part of why it works so well when used correctly. The first vitamin is niacin, also known as vitamin B3, and if you want to think of it in the simplest way possible, think of it as the cleanup crew for sluggish circulation. When blood vessels become narrow and blood flow starts feeling less efficient, everything slows down. Your feet get colder. Your legs may feel tired, heavy, or dull by the end of the day. You may not realize it, but part of the problem is that your circulatory system is not moving blood as smoothly as it should. Niacin helps address that issue in two important ways. First, it supports vasodilation, which means it helps blood vessels relax and widen. Second, it can support healthier blood flow by improving how easily blood moves through those vessels. But here is the critical detail many people miss. Not all niacin is the same. If your goal is real circulation support, the form matters. The version most often discussed for this purpose is the flushing form, called nicotinic acid. This is the type that creates a temporary warm, red, prickly sensation in the skin, often on the face, neck, or chest. A lot of people hate that feeling and immediately look for no-flush versions instead, but those alternatives do not always create the same noticeable widening effect. In other words, the very reaction people try to avoid is often part of why the flushing version gets so much attention for circulation support. Now, that does not mean you should jump into high doses recklessly. You need to respect it. A smart starting point is 250 milligrams once daily with food. That gives your body time to adjust while reducing the intensity of the flush. If it feels manageable and your doctor has no concerns, some people later move to 500 milligrams daily, but this is something to approach carefully, especially if you have liver issues, diabetes, or take medications for blood pressure or cholesterol. The flush itself usually lasts 15 to 30 minutes and may feel strange at first, but many people find that it becomes easier to tolerate over time. What matters most is consistency and caution. The reason niacin is so interesting is that it does not just sit passively in the body, it actively encourages blood vessels to open up, almost like turning a narrow road into a wider one so traffic can move more freely. And when blood moves better, the tissues in your legs and feet may finally get the support they have been lacking. So if niacin is the cleanup crew that helps widen the pipes and improve flow, what comes next is equally important, because even the cleanest vessel in the world will not function well if it becomes stiff, rigid, and unable to respond. That brings us directly to the second circulation vitamin, the one that works on flexibility itself. Vitamin number 2 is vitamin K2, specifically the MK7 form, and this one deserves your attention because circulation is not only about opening vessels for a few minutes at a time, it is also about keeping those vessels healthy, elastic, and responsive over the long term. Think of a new rubber hose. It bends easily, handles pressure well, and lets water flow smoothly. Now compare that to an old brittle pipe that has lost its flexibility and become stiff over the years. That is exactly what can happen inside the body as we age. The blood vessels may gradually lose their softness and become less able to expand and respond properly. One of the major reasons this matters is calcium. Calcium is essential in the right place, especially in bones and teeth, but when it begins settling into the walls of arteries and other soft tissues, it creates stiffness where you do not want it. This is where vitamin K2 comes in. K2 helps activate proteins in the body that guide calcium away from soft tissue and toward the places it belongs. That is why this vitamin is sometimes described as a kind of traffic controller for calcium. Instead of allowing calcium to contribute to harder, more rigid vessel walls, K2 helps support healthier placement. But again, the form matters. Vitamin K1 is not the same thing. K1 is mainly associated with clotting and is commonly found in leafy greens, but K2, especially MK7, is the form usually discussed for long-lasting support in the bloodstream. MK7 stays active longer, which is one reason it is so often preferred in supplements for vascular support. The amount many people look for is between 100 and 300 micrograms per day, and because K2 is fat-soluble, it is best taken with food that contains some fat. This is not a huge dose in terms of weight, but it can still be very significant. And there is a very important warning here. If you take blood thinners or anticoagulant medication, you absolutely need to talk with your doctor before using vitamin K2, because anything related to clotting needs medical supervision. What makes K2 so valuable in this conversation is that it works on the structure of the vessels themselves. Niacin may help open the pipes, but K2 helps keep those pipes from becoming hard and unresponsive over time. It supports the kind of flexibility that healthier circulation depends on. This is not the kind of effect most people feel overnight, but over the long run it may become one of the most meaningful parts of the entire strategy. When your vessels are more flexible, blood pressure regulation improves, blood flow can respond better to your body's needs, and your legs may feel less weighed down by the end of the day. So now we have covered the cleanup crew and the flexibility fixer, but there is still one more key piece missing, because even wide, flexible blood vessels need the right biochemical signal to tell them when to relax. That final piece is vitamin C, and its role in circulation is far more powerful than most people realize. Vitamin number 3 is vitamin C, and while most people think of it only as an immune support vitamin, its role in blood vessel health is much bigger than that. In fact, vitamin C helps support one of the most important signaling systems your body uses to relax blood vessels and improve blood flow. That signal is nitric oxide, a molecule that tells the smooth muscle in your vessel walls to loosen up and widen. When nitric oxide is working well, blood can move more freely, pressure is better regulated, and circulation becomes more efficient. But your body does not produce and protect nitric oxide well if the lining of your blood vessels is not supported, and that is exactly where vitamin C becomes so valuable. It helps protect the endothelial lining, the delicate inner layer of the vessels, and supports the environment needed for nitric oxide to function. In simple terms, if niacin helps open the path and K2 helps maintain the structure, vitamin C helps send the signal that keeps everything moving properly. Now, just like the other vitamins, the form matters. High-dose standard ascorbic acid can be harsh on some people's stomachs, especially if taken regularly, which is why many prefer buffered vitamin C or liposomal vitamin C for better comfort and absorption. Buffered forms are mixed with minerals to reduce acidity, while liposomal forms are packaged in tiny fat-like spheres to improve delivery and gentleness. The typical dose often discussed for stronger vascular support is around 1,000 milligrams once or twice daily. That is much more than the small amount in an ordinary multivitamin, which is why so many people never notice any real difference from the basic formulas they take. But there is another critical detail that makes this vitamin especially interesting. Timing can matter. Some people find higher doses of vitamin C mildly energizing, which means taking it too late in the day may interfere with sleep. More importantly, your body tends to need nitric oxide support most during the daytime, when you are standing, walking, moving, and demanding blood flow to the legs and muscles. That is why many people prefer taking vitamin C in the morning and if using a second dose, again by early afternoon rather than in the evening. The idea is to front load the support when your body is actually using it most. So a practical rhythm might be 1000 milligrams with breakfast and another 1000 milligrams with lunch or an early afternoon snack, avoiding it later in the day. When used that way, vitamin C becomes more than just a common supplement. It becomes part of a system. It helps stabilize the signal that tells vessels to relax and stay open, which may be one reason some people notice better warmth, less heaviness, and improved comfort in the legs over time. And now that you understand all three vitamins, individually, it is time to look at how they work together as a coordinated strategy rather than three separate pills. When you step back and look at the full picture, these three vitamins form a simple but powerful circulation support system. Niacin helps widen blood vessels and improve flow. Vitamin K to MK7 helps keep those vessels flexible by supporting proper calcium placement. Vitamin C helps fuel and protect the nitric oxide system that tells those vessels when to relax. Together, they target three different but closely connected parts of the same problem. That is why this approach makes more sense than relying on a generic multivitamin and hoping for the best. A standard multivitamin may contain a little of everything, but usually not enough of anything to create a meaningful effect. You might get 20 milligrams of niacin when the amount discussed for circulation is far higher. You might get a tiny amount of vitamin K, often K1 instead of the MK7 form of K2. You might get a modest amount of vitamin C that is fine for basic nutrition, but nowhere near the level people often use for targeted vascular support. So the first myth that needs to go is the idea that a multivitamin automatically covers you. It may help prevent deficiency, but that is not the same as providing strategic support for a specific concern like sluggish circulation. At the same time, this is where people need to stay responsible. These vitamins are not casual if taken at therapeutic levels. Niacin can affect liver enzymes and interact with medications. K2 must be discussed with a doctor if you are on blood thinners. Higher dose vitamin C may upset digestion in some people if the form is not right or if the dose is too aggressive. So this is not about blindly copying a supplement routine from the internet. It is about understanding what each nutrient does, using the correct form, respecting the dosage, and involving your doctor when medical conditions or medications are part of the picture. It is also important to set realistic expectations. You are not taking a miracle pill and waking up the next morning with brand new circulation. The first week may simply be about adjusting, especially if you are using flushing niacin. Over the next few weeks, some people may begin noticing warmer feet, less heaviness in the legs, or improved comfort by the end of the day. Over longer periods, the structural support from K2 may become more meaningful as consistency does its work. That word matters more than almost anything else here: consistency. These nutrients support the body's systems over time. They are not instant fixes. If you skip days, change doses randomly, or stop the moment you do not feel something dramatic, you may never give the process a fair chance. So if you want to stop wasting money on random blends and start thinking in a more targeted way, these three vitamins offer a much clearer path. In the next part, we will go deeper into the most common mistakes people make while using these supplements and how to avoid the small errors that can ruin the results even when they have the right vitamins in their hands. Now that you understand the three key vitamins, it is time to address the biggest mistakes that quietly destroy results for most people, even when they are taking the right supplements. The first mistake is inconsistency. People take a supplement for a few days, forget for 2 days, double the dose the next day, and then wonder why nothing changes. Your body does not respond well to chaos. These nutrients support biological systems that rely on steady input over time, not random bursts, especially with something like vitamin K to MK7, which works gradually on vessel flexibility. Skipping doses interrupts the entire process. The second mistake is underdosing. Many people are afraid of taking what actually works, so they stay stuck at ineffective levels. They might take 50 milligrams of vitamin C or a tiny amount of niacin and expect a noticeable difference. That is not how targeted supplementation works. There is a difference between preventing deficiency and actively supporting a system like circulation. The third mistake is choosing the wrong form. This is extremely common. Someone buys no flush niacin and expects the same result as flushing niacin, or they take vitamin K1 and assume it works like K2MK7, or they use cheap, low-quality vitamin C that irritates their stomach, so they stop taking it altogether. Form matters more than most people realize. And then there is the fourth mistake, ignoring timing, especially with vitamin C. Taking it late at night can disrupt sleep or reduce its daytime benefits when your body actually needs better blood flow. These small details may seem unimportant, but together they can completely determine whether you see results or not. And here is something even more important. Many people expect instant transformation. They take supplements for a week and expect their circulation to feel completely different overnight, but that expectation sets them up for disappointment. These nutrients support processes that take time to build. Blood vessels do not become flexible in a day. Circulation patterns do not change instantly. What you are doing here is giving your body consistent support so it can gradually function better. That is why patience is not optional. It is required if you understand and avoid these mistakes. You already put yourself ahead of most people who try and fail, because now, instead of guessing, you are following a structured, intentional approach. Let's talk about what real progress actually looks like, because understanding the timeline can keep you motivated and prevent you from quitting too early. In the first few days, especially if you start niacin, the most noticeable effect will likely be the flushing sensation. This is not your final result. This is just your body reacting to the compound. Some people may also notice a slight warmth in their hands or feet, but this is usually subtle. The real goal during the first week is not dramatic improvement. It is building tolerance and consistency. As you move in 2 weeks 2 through 6, this is where things begin to shift. The vasodilation effect from niacin becomes more familiar. Vitamin C begins supporting nitric oxide more effectively, and blood flow may start to feel more consistent. This is when some people notice their legs feel less heavy at the end of the day, or their feet do not feel as cold as before. It is not extreme, but it is noticeable, and that is a sign you are on the right track. Now, the most important phase comes after 2 to 3 months. This is where vitamin K just starts to show its long-term value. Remember, K2 is not about quick effects. It is about improving the condition of your blood vessels over time. As flexibility improves and stiffness reduces, circulation becomes more stable. Instead of sharp ups and downs, your body maintains a more consistent flow. This is where people often report the most meaningful improvements. But here is the key. You only reach this stage if you stay consistent long enough. Most people quit before they ever experience it. They stop after 2 weeks because they expected a miracle. That is why commitment matters more than anything else. Think of this as a 90-day strategy, not a 7-day experiment, because when you approach it this way, you are no longer chasing quick fixes. You are building a foundation for better circulation. And that shift in mindset alone can change everything about how you approach your health. Now let's clear up one more major confusion that causes people to waste money again and again. The idea that more ingredients automatically means better results. The supplement industry thrives on this belief. You see bottles with 20, 30, even 50 ingredients, all in tiny amounts, marketed as complete solutions. But here is the problem. When everything is included in small doses, nothing is strong enough to make a real impact. It is like trying to fill a glass of water using a dropper. Yes, technically you are adding water, but it will take forever to reach a meaningful level. That is exactly what happens with most multivitamins. They are designed for general coverage, not targeted support, and circulation is a targeted issue. It requires specific nutrients in meaningful amounts. That is why focusing on fewer, more effective compounds often works better than taking a long list of weak ingredients. It is not about quantity, it is about precision. When you take niacin in the right form and dose, you are actively supporting vessel widening. When you take K2MK7 consistently, you are supporting structural health. When you take vitamin C at the right time, you are supporting nitric oxide signaling. Each one has a clear role, and together they create a system that makes sense. Compare that to a generic supplement where everything is mixed together in low doses, and you start to see why so many people feel stuck. They are not doing something wrong. They are just not doing something effective. And once you understand this, you stop chasing new products every month. You stop believing that the next bottle will finally be the one that works. Instead, you focus on what actually matters: correct nutrients, correct forms, correct doses, and consistent use. That is what creates results. Not hype, not marketing, and not complicated formulas designed to look impressive rather than perform effectively. Before you move forward with this approach, there is one more critical layer you need to understand: safety, because while these nutrients can be powerful tools, they are not something to take carelessly. Starting with niacin, this is one of the most potent over-the-counter vitamins when taken at higher doses. It can affect liver enzymes and interact with medications, especially those related to cholesterol and blood pressure. That is why anyone with existing conditions or prescriptions should involve their doctor before starting. Vitamin K2 also requires caution, especially for those on blood thinners, since K vitamins are involved in clotting processes. Adding K2 without medical guidance could interfere with medication balance. This is not optional, it is essential. Vitamin C is generally considered very safe, but even here, high doses can cause digestive discomfort if the form is not suitable. That is why choosing buffered or liposomal versions can make a big difference. And beyond individual vitamins, there is something else people overlook: supplements are not replacements for movement. Circulation depends heavily on physical activity. Even simple walking helps push blood through the legs and back toward the heart. If you combine proper supplementation with even light daily movement, the effects can complement each other much more effectively. On the other hand, if you rely only on supplements and remain completely inactive, your results may be limited. So think of this as a combined approach: nutrition plus movement plus consistency. That is the real formula, not just pills alone. And once you respect both effectiveness and safety, you create a balanced strategy that supports your body instead of stressing it. Now let's bring everything together into a simple, actionable plan you can actually follow without confusion. First, focus on niacin, the cleanup crew. Use the flushing form. Start with a lower dose like 250 milligrams with a meal, and only consider increasing if it feels tolerable and your doctor approves. Expect the flush. Do not panic, it is temporary. Second, add vitamin K to MK7, the flexibility fixer. Stay within the range of 100 to 300 micrograms daily, and always take it with food that contains some fat for better absorption. If you are on blood thinners, speak with your doctor first, no exceptions. Third, use vitamin C, the opening signal. Aim for around 1,000 milligrams once or twice per day, using a buffered or liposomal form if needed for comfort. Take it earlier in the day, ideally morning and early afternoon, to support circulation when your body needs it most. And finally, commit to consistency. Set a routine, take your supplements at the same time every day, pair them with meals so you do not forget. Combine this with simple movement like walking, even if it is just 10 to 20 minutes daily, and most importantly, give it time. Think in terms of 90 days, not 9 days, because real improvement in circulation is not about quick tricks. It is about steady support. If you follow this plan with patience and awareness, you are no longer guessing. You are giving your body a structured approach that actually aligns with how circulation works. And that is the difference between trying random solutions and finally taking control of your results.